Welcome to African Tales by Thank God, where African stories come to life. From gripping dramas and cultural tales to real-life experiences. Today's story is about how Kunle, a young Nigerian lawyer who stepped up to defend a politician in court. A case that would drastically change his life forever. Stay tuned and let's dive into the story. How defending a politician changed Kunle's life forever. Kunle always carried a quiet intensity, a blend of hard work and gentle optimism that set him apart even during his student days at ABU Zaria. Even then, as he pored over legal texts and debated spiritedly with professors, he envisioned a future where his intellect and integrity would serve justice. That future crystallized when he joined the illustrious Jimmy Fortress legal firm in Abuja, a towering institution renowned for its legacy of winning high-stakes cases for Nigeria's elite. The halls of Jimmy Fortress were as impressive as the cases they handled. Rich senior advocate of Nigeria San led the conference rooms, where seasoned barristers hashed out strategies, and every polished office echoed with the legacy of legal victories. It was a firm where ambition met opportunity, and for Kunle, every day felt like a step closer to the pinnacle of his career. But behind every public victory lay a personal story few could see. Love, struggles, and the promise of family. Outside the hallowed chambers of the law firm, Kunle's life was anchored by his marriage to Ranti. They had been together for 5 years, a journey that began with shy smiles on campus and blossomed into a deep, shared commitment. When Kunle finally proposed, it was in a quiet moment by the serene banks of a lake near his hometown, a promise of partnership and a future built on shared dreams. Yet, as the newlyweds settled into married life, another challenge loomed large. After several years of trying, the couple struggled with conception. The nights were filled with both hope and heartache, as each test and appointment deepened their longing for a child. Their living room, once a sanctuary of laughter and dreams, became a quiet stage for whispered prayers and silent tears. Then, one crisp autumn morning, Ranti discovered she was pregnant. The news transformed their world. The months of waiting and the burdens of uncertainty melted into a celebration of life. When their daughter was born, the tiny hand gripping his finger for the first time, Kunle's heart swelled with an emotion he had never known, a fierce, protective love that promised to sustain him through any trial. The opportunity that shook the firm. Just as Kunle began to savor his personal triumphs, the firm was thrust into a legal storm. The case was as high profile as it could get. Chief Dapo Ajibade, a wealthy and influential politician, had retained Jimmy Fortress legal firm to defend him. Facing a turbulent divorce lawsuit initiated by his estranged wife, who not only accused him of misconduct but had also raised a barrage of allegations to further a rival political agenda, Chief Ajibade was in a precarious position. The stakes were further heightened by an ongoing investigation by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, into alleged money laundering. During a strategic meeting in the firm's sleek boardroom, where the tension was as palpable as the gleam of polished glass on the conference table, the senior partners debated who should lead this critical case. The room buzzed with cautious whispers and measured opinions. "Many of us have our reservations," said Mr. Emeka, the firm's veteran litigator with decades of experience. His voice, calm yet laced with concern, reverberated around the room. "This case is not only complex, it is a crucible, one that will define our future promotions and the legacy of this chamber." Eyes shifted toward Kunle, whose reputation for tenacity and razor-sharp analytical skills had quietly earned him accolades. Clearing his throat, he spoke with a blend of resolve and quiet confidence. "I will take the case." There was a moment of silence. Then, Mr. Emeka's steely gaze met Kunle's. "Are you certain, Kunle? This is a high-stakes battle. It's not merely a legal dispute. It's a war fought on every front, legal, political, and even personal." Kunle nodded, his voice unwavering despite the storm of doubt that churned within him. "I understand the risks, sir. But with risk comes the opportunity to forge our destiny. I am prepared." And so, it was decided. Kunle was now the lead counsel in a case that could either skyrocket him to unprecedented heights or crush him under its weight. The web of deception begins to unravel. With the assignment confirmed, Kunle plunged into the case with a fervor that left his colleagues in awe. He assembled a team of private investigators, forensic accountants, and digital experts. Late nights found him hunched over case files, scrutinizing every document and meticulously mapping out the convoluted connections between the parties involved. One rainy evening, as Kunle sat in his modest yet meticulously organized home office, his phone buzzed. It was his trusted investigator, Ada, known for her uncanny ability to track even the faintest trail of deceit. "Barrister Kunle, I have an update." Ada's voice came through, low and urgent. "Our intel confirms that the estranged wife, she's not hiding in some obscure location abroad as we thought. She's in Lagos, keeping a low profile in a quiet suburb. But that's not all." "Go on," Kunle urged, his pen poised above a legal pad. "She's been in contact with several high-ranking officials in opposition circles. It seems her case was orchestrated by more than personal grievances. There's political intrigue at play," Ada continued. The details spilled out, a network of forged documents, clandestine meetings, and evidence of coordinated attempts to topple Chief Ajabade's career. As Ada concluded the call, Kunle's mind raced. This was no ordinary divorce. It was a carefully engineered political coup. His investigation had unearthed a damning web of collusion, one that could not only ruin a man's career but destabilize the delicate balance of power. Whispers of betrayal. The breakthrough in the case came with an unexpected twist. While analyzing bank transactions and encrypted communications, one series of emails caught Kunle's attention. They were innocuous at first glance, seemingly mundane messages between two business associates. But as he dug deeper, the sender's signature sent a chill down his spine. It was Ronti's. While reviewing the politician's history, Kunle came across disturbing evidence, a string of affairs with various women, some of them powerful figures, others young interns and employees. It wasn't surprising for a man of his status, but then he found something that made his heart stop. One of the affairs was with Ronti. His wife, Kunle, froze in his office, staring at the evidence, messages, call logs, and secret meetings spanning years. His wife had been having an affair with his client, the man he was now going to defend in court. Late one night, unable to shake the nagging suspicion, Kunle decided to confront the evidence. In the dim light of his study, he reviewed the emails line by line. The messages were laden with subtle innuendo and intimate overtones, a stark contrast to the carefully curated image Ronti had always maintained. His heart pounded as he pieced together the timeline. The affair wasn't a fleeting mistake. It had been a long, deliberate betrayal. The next morning, before the weight of the day fully set in, Kunle requested a private meeting with his colleague and friend, Mr. Tunde, who was also a seasoned litigator at the firm. In a quiet corner of the firm's break room, Tunde looked at him with concerned eyes. "Kunle, you seem troubled. Is everything all right with the case?" Kunle hesitated, his voice barely a whisper. "Tunde, there's something personal. I discovered communications, emails from Ronti. They indicate that she has been involved with someone else." Tun's face paled. "You mean?" Kunle nodded, eyes distant. "With our client, the politician, Chief Ajibade. I ordered a DNA test for my daughter. The results confirmed it. My daughter is not mine." Kunle sat in his office, his hands trembling as he read the report. The baby he had loved, the child he had prayed for, was not his daughter. He had built his life around a lie. A heavy silence enveloped the room. Tunde reached out, placing a reassuring hand on Kunle's shoulder. "That's devastating, my friend. But you mustn't let this cloud your judgment. The case, this is bigger than our personal lives." But for Kunle, the betrayal was personal in every conceivable way. It shattered his trust, his pride, and the carefully built image of the man he believed he was. The very foundation of his life, his career, his family, his identity, was now in jeopardy. Confrontation in the quiet of the night. That night, the tension at home was almost unbearable. The air in their modest apartment felt thick, with unspoken words. Kunle returned home early, unable to bear the distance any longer. In the dimly lit living room, he found Ronti seated by the window, her face half hidden in shadow as she stared out into the night. "Ronti," he said, his voice low and trembling with a mixture of anger and sorrow. She turned slowly, eyes glistening with tears. "Kunle, she began, but he cut her off. "Don't," he said sharply, rising to face her. "I know everything. The emails, the messages, the DNA test. How could you do this to me? To our daughter?" Ronti's eyes filled with despair as she sank into the sofa. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. "It was all so complicated. I felt alone, trapped in the endless fight to be a mother, to be enough for you." And then this man, he made me feel seen when I was drowning. Kunle paced the room, struggling to process her words. Seen. You were seen by me? Every day, in every moment. And yet you chose someone else, a man who is now my client. His voice broke, and the silence that followed was filled with the sound of his own shattered heart. At first, she denied it. Then, faced with undeniable evidence, she broke down in tears. She confessed everything. The affair had started years ago, during their struggles to conceive. She had felt lonely, lost, and in a moment of weakness, she had betrayed him. But she had never planned for it to go this far. Kunle stared at her, his heart pounding with betrayal, rage, and sorrow. Please, try to understand, Ronti pleaded, her voice cracking with regret. I made a terrible mistake. I never planned for it to go this far. I'm so sorry, Kunle. For a long moment, neither spoke. The gravity of the betrayal hung between them like an impenetrable wall. Kunle's mind raced with questions. How much of their past had been a lie? Could he ever trust her again? And what did this mean for the case, for his future at the firm? The decision looms? In the days that followed, Kunle found himself at a precipice. The once clear path of his career was now mired in personal agony and ethical dilemmas. In the conference room of Jimmy Fortress, as the media frenzy around the case intensified, his colleagues looked to him for guidance. But inside, he was wrestling with a choice that threatened to consume him. At a late-night strategy session, Mr. Emeka addressed the team. The stakes of this case have never been higher. We're not only defending a powerful politician, but we are also safeguarding the integrity of this firm. Kunle, I know you're handling this with the utmost professionalism. But if there's any conflict of interest, any hint of personal bias, we need to know. Kunle's jaw tightened. His eyes met those of his senior colleague, and for a brief moment, he wondered if they sensed the turmoil within him. I assure you, my commitment to justice remains unwavering, he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil beneath. I will not let my personal feelings cloud my duty. But as he returned home that night, the words rang hollow. Every step felt like a march towards an uncertain future, and every memory of happier times with Ronti was now tainted by betrayal. The case, once a beacon of hope for his career, now symbolized the crossroads of his shattered life. In the solitude of his study, Kunle reread every piece of evidence, every conversation logged in his meticulous notes. With each passing hour, his inner monologue grew louder, interrogating the very nature of loyalty, justice, and self-worth. Could I really stand by and defend a man who had been sleeping with my own wife? Could I truly separate my personal grief from my professional duty? The questions tormented him until the early hours of dawn. A friend's counsel and a heart divided. The following morning, before the chaos of the courtroom could claim another victim of scandal, Kunle sought the counsel of an old friend and mentor, Barrister Namdi. They met in a quiet cafe away from the prying eyes of the media and colleagues. Over steaming cups of bitter coffee, Namdi listened as Kunle recounted every detail, the case, the betrayal, the unraveling of his personal life. Kunle, Namdi said softly, leaning forward with compassionate eyes. Life often deals us blows that we can't foresee. The challenge isn't in avoiding the pain, but in how we rise from it. You must decide what kind of man you want to be. Will you let this betrayal define you? Or will you use it to become even stronger? Kunle sighed deeply. I'm torn, Namdi. If I withdraw from the case, my career might be over. But if I continue, every time I see Chief Ajibade in court, every argument I present, it will be a constant reminder of Ronti's betrayal. I'm losing not just my trust, but a part of myself. Namdi's eyes narrowed in thought. Sometimes the pursuit of justice isn't just about defending a client. It's about reclaiming your honor. The law demands objectivity, but it also understands the human heart. Remember, the path of righteousness is rarely without personal sacrifice. The words lingered in Kunle's mind as he walked back to the firm. In the quarters of Jimmy Fortress, the hum of activity masked the undercurrent of tension. Every conversation, every whispered rumor about the case, seemed to echo his inner conflict. His colleagues regarded him with a mix of admiration and concern, aware that the stakes had now become intensely personal. The crossroad and dilemma of Kunle now, he was at a crossroads. What was he supposed to do? Could he still defend the politician in court after learning the truth? Could he stand in the courtroom and fight for a man who had stolen his family from him? Would he throw the case and watch his client fall, a man who had destroyed his life? Would his firm still allow him to continue the case, knowing his personal crisis What would happen to his career, his reputation, and his sanity? Kunle, the brilliant lawyer, the man who always had a plan, was suddenly lost. For the first time in his life, he didn't know what to do.